So there's no better way to kick off the program than to hear about the skills revolution and the future of work from Becky Frankowitz. Becky is the president of North America for Manpower. Among her many accomplishments, while at Quaker Foods, she was named by Fast Company as one of the most creative people in the industry, anticipating and adapting to fast-changing consumer demands. Her portfolio of expertise includes leading innovation, finance, strategy, sales, and marketing across divisions. She just completed her first marathon here in Chicago on October 8th. Congratulations, Becky. And she might actually put Wonder Woman to shame. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Becky Frankowitz.
I think I'm a little recovered from the marathon. I did go on my first run yesterday, but it was really slow. And so for those of you who've run the marathon, it's a great experience. And I would say the best of our entire region, because people from all over the world were running. I'm a native Texan, transplanted to the Midwest, and I'm proud to say I've lived in 2 of the 3 states that we're talking about here today. And so I'm passionate about our capabilities here in the Midwest. It's a great time to be in business in this area. Whether you're in academia, whether you're in business, whether you're in public policy, it's a great time to be in this region as we stand on the brink of the 4th industrial revolution, which will change the way we live, the way we work, the way we relate to one another. It's different from its predecessors. It's different in that it's the fusion of technologies that will impact and cause the convergence of physical, digital, and biological spheres. So think about that. Physical, digital, and biological spheres. I wear a Fitbit on my wrist. There will be a time when Fitbit can tell me what I should eat for the day that I have ahead of me. That time is coming. That technology exists. I can wake up in the morning and say, I'm ready for coffee to my Google Home, and it will turn the coffee maker on. That is the world that we're walking into, and it's a very exciting world. The challenge it's creating is a skills revolution. This bifurcation of the haves and the have-nots. And I'm not talking about the 1% from a few years ago, a financial lens. I'm talking about skills and capabilities, where employers can no longer be consumers of work. We all have to be developers of talent. Not only consumers of work, developers of talent. And employees have a responsibility. We have to be continual learners, constantly adapting to a new environment. I was in Washington, D.C. last week, meeting with a company in the federal business, and they said, we want to create a liquid workforce. A liquid workforce. What does that mean? Where people can adjust and get new experiences and skills, and where companies can shift resources to where they're needed. Think about a liquid workforce. And this is a leading company in the D.C. area. This skills revolution is upon us, and at Manpower Group, we believe that we have to double down on workforce development and training, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. So the question is, at the end of the day, are we all ready for this skills revolution? So why Manpower Group has a right to talk about this? We've been in this business for 70 years. We are a founders company. Those of you in the house from the Milwaukee area, you'll know the name Elmer Winter. He is one of our co-founders, and he actually started with this idea of we have excess capability, how do I apply that? And so we have 70 years of experience, 80 countries. The overwhelming majority of our revenue is done outside of the U.S. Clearly, I run North America, so I'm working really hard to make that a different number. Love the rest of the world, but love this part of the world a little bit more right now. We operate across multiple brands in the employee life cycle. So anything from, you need light-duty industrial engineering, we can do that. You need a high-tech programmer, we can do that. You need temporary labor, permanent labor, we do that. You need to outsource employees, we can help them land on their feet. And so we really are a workforce solutions partner in today's economy and right in the middle of the conversations that are going on. So you said Foxconn and Amazon will come up. How about slide 3 from me? So if you're these 2 companies, I think we all know Foxconn looking to set up a new manufacturing footprint in a different country. You look at Amazon looking to create a second home. What are the conversations? What are these companies looking for as they look to expand? They're looking for skills. They're looking to understand what is the skill capability in this region. And I love the opening because candidly, they're looking in this region. They're not looking at a city or a location. They're looking for the capabilities in the region, and the more that we can do and present that together, the better off I believe we will be in attracting talent. Someone is going to build the skill for the future. Someone is going to do that, and I would propose it should be us sitting in the center of our country. So there's a couple of examples of just conversations that are happening. This is a recruitment difficulty index, so a little hard to see, but honestly, all you need to see is the color. So recruitment difficulty, blue means it's easy to find the jobs, no worries. The closer you get to dark maroon, the harder it is to find the jobs. So over a 4-year span, we have been tracking the difficulty of finding labor and fits for companies. You notice in 2012, lots of blue and light blue. As we've gotten into 2016, 2017, increasingly difficult to find skills. So we do have increasing demand and a reduction in supply. The workforce has changed. We have an aging workforce. But more importantly, the pace of change, this fusion of technology, is moving so quickly that jobs are becoming extinct. Capabilities are becoming extinct. I have 3 daughters. They're all still in school. 65% of the jobs they will have available, 65% don't exist today. They don't exist. So if you're an educator, what in the world are you teaching? You can't it will no longer be about what you know. It will be about what you can learn. And we call that learnability. Employability will be dependent on learnability. So how do you teach someone how to learn? If you believe even half of that, it means our entire education system has to change. The way we incent and reward our workers has to change. It's no longer about what you know. It's what you have the capability to learn and apply. And by the way, we talk about millennials changing, companies several times in their life. How about every day? A liquid workforce. Every day I need to change and adjust my skill. So these are the things that these companies are looking for. What are the skills that are available? How difficult is it to map the skills I need for the future? But we've been through this before. So you can imagine probably one of the questions someone here was planning to ask is artificial intelligence. What do you think the impact of artificial intelligence is going to be? Well, it's going to have an impact. It's going to eliminate jobs and it's going to create new jobs. How do I know? My kids never watched the Jetsons. I grew up watching the Jetsons. So I was showing it to them, and what used to blow my mind, they can see. They can see, a world where there's a robot that creates meals, which, by the way, I'm kind of intrigued by that idea. So, that's a job I'd kind of be interested in. A refrigerator, they exist today, right? A refrigerator that can tell you, you're low on milk, Amazon, send more milk. That exists today. So we're not so far from a Jetsons world. So, the cartoons of today, what is the future outside of a Jetsons world? It's fascinating, but we've been here before. So go back to the early 1900s. You heard me say I was born a Texan, raised on a farm. In the early 1900s, almost 40% of the population was in agriculture. 40%, almost 1 in every 2 households. Today, anybody know today what it is? 2%. Thank you, gentlemen in the front. 2%. Okay, but we have a surplus. We feed our nation, and then we have a surplus. So output has improved 2% of the population. Factories. Back in the early 1900s, a quarter of the population in America was in factories. Today, it's 9%. So we have faced this before. New jobs are created when other jobs go away. Our job is to figure out what in the world those new jobs are. And this is manufacturing, a chart of manufacturing. And again, all you need to know are the lines. So the blue line is employment. The red line is output per job. As employment in the manufacturing sector has gone down, output has improved. And new jobs are created because all of you know we're at full employment, and our workforce participation is the highest it's been. And unemployment is low. And so new jobs have been created as this disruption has happened. We believe the same thing will happen with artificial intelligence. The challenge is it's always been easier to map the roles. Factories change. I don't need somebody to stamp anymore. I need somebody to run the machine that stamps. That was easy to map out. It's not so easy today. At the same time, because of technology, so remember, the difference in the 4th industrial revolution is it's not about automating manufacturing only. It literally will change the way that we work. And so consumers, employees, consumers, are figuring that out. And they're starting to work differently. So these are bar charts that show this rise of alternative work models and how much it's growing. 10 years ago, 10% of the workforce, 10% worked in an alternative model, meaning part-time, remotely, a host of different ways, independent contractor, the gig economy, which you've probably all heard of. It was 10%. Today it's 16%. And your reaction may be, that's still low. No, it's growing. It's the fastest growing piece of the workforce. People who are choosing to work differently than they ever have before. So we did a survey to actually ask people around the world, how do you prefer to work? What is your preferred work method? 87% of people are open, this is a global number, are open to alternative working, which we call next generation employment. That number in the US is 94%. 94% of people surveyed said, yeah, I'd be open to working that way. When you say why, the people who are doing it, why are you doing it? 80% say, it's giving me employability. So go back to the beginning. It's teaching me new skills. We lead quite a large IT consulting group. And I was sitting with these contractors, freelancers. They prefer freelancers, by the way. Freelancers. And I'm like, why are you working this way? Like, you're making, quite a bit of money, but why this way? The answer was fascinating. They said, because I'm building my skill. I could do this for a couple months, and I could go do something else for a couple months. When the economy gets bad, I tuck myself into a company, and I'm the one they want to hire because of my skill assortment. Skill is the new currency. That number, I think I mentioned, is 85% of people in the U.S. It's 80% global. It's 85% in the U.S. Then you see the rest of the data. We have 90% of people saying that they enjoy it. 97% of Americans, almost 100% of Americans that are working this way enjoy it. So we're seeing the skills revolution at a time when there's consumerism going on in talent. So you say, hey, what's somebody from a consumer goods company doing speaking to me about workforce development? Because we are seeing behavior now be the guide for employability. Just like I was working for Quaker Foods and saying, hey, oatmeal's great for you. The new game is, how do we attract talent? And that's why I made the switch from a consumer goods environment to a workforce management environment for solutions around consumers. So for Manpower Group, so we have the burning platform. So what are we doing about it? As I mentioned, we're a founders company. This is Elmer Winter. And again, if you're from this area, hopefully you've heard of him. We're a $20 billion company that he created first with his legal secretary, who he thought was very talented, and there was a demand for that skill in the market. That's how his business started. He was a lawyer by trade. This is an excerpt from a letter that he wrote very early on for the company about his vision. And it was true 70 years ago, and it is even more true today. We will do good if in some way we can help people become employable. And I would say that's no longer just Manpower Group's mission and vision. It should be all of ours, because again, companies and employers cannot just be consumers of work. We have to be developers of talent. And if you think about your company or the companies you work with, we have gotten away from that. We're consumers of work. We have to step back now and develop our workforce. So I'm going to share two examples of what Manpower Group is doing in this space. The first is partnering with DMDII here in Chicago. Hopefully most of you have heard about that. Because the part of the challenge is, you heard me talk about defining the roles. So how do we actually know to create the workforce? What are the skills the workforce needs? To do that, we created this partnership and went in and identified for digital manufacturing, what are the skills that are required? Working with companies like Boeing, GM, P&G, DMDII, we actually mapped out 165 new roles, a skill taxonomy for 165 new roles. We did deep mapping on 20 of those roles, actually identifying what are these things in the future that people need. There's one that's fascinating. It's like a twin. I have to read it because I'm not as familiar with it. It's a twin architect, a life cycle digital twin architect. What in the world is a twin architect? Like, that's going to be somebody's title. They actually capture the residual data that goes through an automated process and then determine how do we optimize the process based on what wasn't used. What wasn't used, not what was used. So we mapped 20 of these to, again, identify what are the future skills for digital manufacturing. So first step is, how do we create a workforce? We map the skill. The second step is, okay, how do we find the workforce? Because you got to find the supply and then retrain them. And so an amazing partnership that we have done with Rockwell Automation out of Milwaukee, we created this academy that actually is focused on next generation digital manufacturing. So you may say, why do I care about this? Okay, go back to Foxconn and Amazon. What are they looking for? They're looking for skills. The skills don't exist anywhere today. So it's a race of who can develop the skills. So I want to show you a video that brings to life this partnership we did with Rockwell, where we didn't just retrain a general workforce. We took 1,000 veterans and reskilled them to compete in this next generation economy. So we can play the video.
The interesting part about this program, the Academy of Advanced Manufacturing, is it separates itself because it's number one, it's filling a void in the manufacturing world. We're filling a skills gap. But the other part of it is we're employing men and women who sacrificed for the country.
My name is Christopher. I was in the Army, and I was a 14 Tango, which is a Patriot Air Defense Artillery.
My name is Jin. I was a Communication, Navigation, and Mission Systems Technician for the Air Force.
I'm Chad. I was in the United States Marine Corps for 7 years. Had some medical issues and ended up actually being medically retired. When I first got out, I was looking at the job boards and I actually saw, a lot of jobs out there for automation and manufacturing, electrical, electronics type stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. I've got the electronics experience, but I don't know anything about PLCs or HMIs or any of this stuff at all.
It took a toll on me emotionally because I went from this guy who's traveled the world. I felt like I was worth nothing to anybody because, I started looking for jobs. I really couldn't get any jobs or anything, and people were confused as to what I wanted from my resume. I had to start from scratch. I got contacted and did a phone interview. They were really excited. I was really excited, and I said, hey, you know what? This program seems like it was made just for me. Not only for veterans, but it's in the industry, the manufacturing industry, with the controls and automation, which is something I've always wanted to do, but I was never able to get into it.
I'm nervous, but I'm excited. As to which most people would be. I come from a background of doing a lot of hands-on things, troubleshooting, doing technical, solving technical problems and such. So it's exciting to get to come in.
As we embark on this program, the great thing about the partnership between Rockwell Automation and Manpower Group is we each bring elements that are critical to make these 15 people that are on pilot successful. And for them, success will be measured by proving out what they know via the Applied Learning Project, doing well on their engagements with their future employers, getting job offers, and having the opportunity of moving into a new role.
So a little view into, we defined the roles, then we went and found the workforce, and now we are in the process of reskilling and retraining them, because we believe that having people upskill for the future is the defining challenge of our time. Funny story about the veterans. It's a 12-week program that we pay for in partnership with Rockwell. We bring them in and train them in 2 different facilities, all in this region, of course. And one of the wives called of one of the veterans behind the scenes. He didn't know she was calling. And he said, because they're going to end up making about $20,000 more than they probably would if they found a different role. So it's a high value job because, again, it's in demand. But this wife called and she said, I just want to make sure this isn't a prank. It feels too good to be true. Too good to be true. And isn't that the reaction we all want from our future talent is, this is too good to be true. And so if any of you in your regions need this kind of skill, we are training and developing these people. And by the way, I would encourage you to do too. This isn't a competition on who can get the corner on the talent. This is about creating our region as the leader in this talent. We know where the jobs are going to be. We know where the demand is going to be. Now we do not have people who can do it, and I think it's on all of us to create that demand. And so I'd love to open it up for some questions, and your reactions to this idea of the skills revolution is upon us, and really the power is in our hands to create a new future for our country, and particularly for our region. Yes, sir.
What is the role of primary, secondary, and tertiary education with this employer-led effort?
Yeah, so great question. The question was, what's the role of education, primary, secondary, tertiary, with this employer-led effort? We believe it's central. And so, candidly, I believe we have to totally go back into our primary and elementary schools to make a difference. We cannot, that is going to take time. So the second part of the question is, what can we do today? So we are partnering at Manpower Group with University of Phoenix, offering free education, free, for people who want to go through this process. We're also employing something called My Path. So if you say, I want to be a medical technician, and you're a high school graduate today, we're partnering with Herzog University to actually create a path to say, how can you work and get paid? It's a lot to say to people, you can't get paid for 12 months that you're training, but you can work and get paid, get the education and the skill at the same time to actually advance through the system. And so we believe it's a very close partnership, honestly, between public policy, education, and from employers to make a difference. We have to do it today. And these are things, if you would have asked me 3 years ago, we didn't know how to do this. We don't know how to do this. And so I would say none of us know how to do this. Someone asked me this morning, who's doing it right? No one's doing it right. No one's doing it right yet. There are people on the cusp of right. We just have never faced this before. And so, any pilots, like now is the time in business for pilots, for trying things, for failing fast and adjusting and trying something new. So I would say today, immediately, it's more around post-high school because it'll have the fastest impact. Certifications. We have, the other thing people ask is, what's the role of a 4-year degree now? I would say it's still crucial. However, we all as employers have to become much more open to certifications. People who have a specific skill and want to go get other certifications. So I'm not in academia, but I think it would be fascinating in that space to say, what is a 4-year degree that is compiled of certification? So you build your skill as you go. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Could you comment on kind of the European process for beginning to train young people while they're still in school, or even as part of a gap year or whatever?
Yeah. Yes, the question is, what's the European process for training, whether it's a gap year or many governments, as you know, have dollars, training dollars. So I had the chance to introduce myself to Ivanka Trump last week at an event, and we're talking about apprenticeships here in America, which is fantastic. Like, that's the model. That's the European model. The difference in the model is there are quite a few dollars available, whether you're talking France or Germany or Italy, quite a few dollars available for workforce reskilling. We're not quite at that point yet. I was encouraged to hear that our administration had met with the German administration to talk about what they're doing. And so I believe that model is one that would benefit us, primarily for the workforce development dollars that could come for companies as well as for universities. Yes, sir.
But
Thank you for that clarification. I was corrected on euros to dollars. Thank you.
My question is about, you commented on 85% of the world. Did you include Europe? Did you include China? Did you include the former Soviet Union? And did you include Scandinavia? And do you break down figures on those?
Yes, breakdown figures. I don't believe, out of everything you listed, Russia was the one I don't believe was included, but I'd be happy. We have a whole study that I'd be happy to make available to this group.
Thank you.
It was 12 countries. And what we try to do is 12 countries. 12 countries in various regions. So we try to get regional representation, but happy to share that study in more detail. Yes, sir.
Please hold for the mic.
Thank you. I'm from Purdue Northwest down the road. And tomorrow morning I'll be talking with my freshman class about today and talking about skill sets. And I can handle the communication, the written, the verbal, the critical thinking. But they're going to be excited about all these jobs and careers. What skill sets should these freshmen specifically be building in the next 4 years while they're there?
Yeah, so thank you for introducing yourself, and I love that you're doing that. I think you all heard he's meeting with his freshman class to talk about skill set. First, I would say, you might not like this, but I'm glad you're here. I would say it's about learnability. So it is really about, yes, gather skills, but it won't be about what you know in the future. It'll be about what you have the capability to learn and apply. And so in general, I would say learnability is most important. And think about how scary that is. People go to college today, I'm going to be an accountant. Like, that's a skill set. No, in the future, it's I know how to analyze numbers. I know how to synthesize data. That's the skill set versus the job. Historically, we've trained people for jobs, and now we're training them for skill sets. But specifically to answer your question, it is all about STEM. We have to bring science, technology, engineering, and mathematics into our curriculum. And again, not in a way that says you're going to be an accountant, but in a way that says I know how to analyze and synthesize numbers. The world where I'm sure all of you have data analytics, the world where a data analytics advisor gives you a report is gone. Nobody cares about the report. What you care about is what are the themes? What do I need to do as a result of this? Data output is not interesting. Data synthesis is interesting. So STEM is the name of the game. One of the concerns, if you said, what are you concerned about when companies like Foxconn and Amazon come to call? I'm very concerned about the lack of interest in STEM in our country. Very concerned. Because that is the basis of digital manufacturing. It's the basis of the future. And if you say, okay, I don't want to do digital manufacturing, who cares about that? Okay, so who cares about that? What are the skills that come with STEM? So forget about the disciplines of STEM. What are the skills? It's going to be all about data synthesis and analysis. I believe in a world where we can predict human capability to contribute. So think about what I just said. I believe we will be able to predict the value that Becky Frankowitz has to an organization. What is she great at, and therefore what skills can she map to, and therefore what is her value? Like, I know that's crazy talk. I love the word wonky this morning. I'm going to get wonky. I know you're all like, she's lost her mind. I'm telling you it's coming. The value of an individual to contribute is coming. The ability of companies like mine to say, I can predict this person's match to your future, it's coming. So I would say gather a cadre of skills, but gather them around STEM would be my honest answer, and not think of STEM as, I don't want to be in science. That's not the point. It's what are the skills that scientists bring to the table, and that's what we should focus on. Tell them I'm excited about their future, and I can't wait for them to start working. We have 6 million open jobs in our country today, 6 million. So if you ever hear somebody say they can't get a job, really frustrates me. Yes, sir.
In addition to STEM and the learnability factor you alluded to try and acquire new skills that will be needed for jobs that may not yet exist, one of the skills that has traditionally been emphasized in our educational system is acquisition of foreign language. And I'm wondering whether you believe that foreign language acquisition still has merit in today's and the future work environment.
Yeah, I do. So I'm going to give you two perspectives on that. Absolutely. Because I think business will still be conducted across borders. I also love the reference this morning, borders are lines. So I absolutely think it's important. Now I'm going to give you another perspective. And I have 2 daughters that are fluent in Spanish, which is the language I would say is very important in our country today. The other perspective, we know that there is AI today that can not only change languages, it can change accents. So if you're in Spain, if you're in Barcelona, the accent is different than Madrid. There's AI. No, you said it's not. Somebody's asking his phone. I was like, no, it actually is. So that we believe there's technology that can read your voice. You can say hello. They would know I'm a Texan. And instead of you all, they'd say y'all to me. So think about that. And so I'd say it's 2 parts, because I think business will be conducted across borders, and so it's important. But there will be technology that when people call into call centers, adjust and sound like a real person from your area, which is crazy, I know. Terrifying. I think we have time for one more. I'm getting the time. Yes, sir.
Well, picking up on that a little bit, and I agree STEM is central in this area. But I guess I would also suggest that maybe it ought to be STEAM rather than STEM, with the A standing for arts. I mean, I think there's a role for creativity in this whole enterprise, too. And I'm not sure how that...
Yeah. So I would so totally agree with you and may adopt STEAM going forward, because what the arts, so think about, again, back to skills, what do the arts teach us? What do they teach us? They teach us the ability to connect different ideas. They teach us the ability to see something different than it is. That is a skill in the future economy that will be important. So I love that ad, and I'm going to take it as my own. STEAM. With that, thank you all for your time. It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you.